All right, guys, this will be the trade 3 video. Two trades going down today around 2 o'clock Central Time. I did talk to Grayson, and he said these trades were independent of each other, so I'm going to evaluate this one uh, just on this one and not include any context from the trade that happened after this. So, getting into it here, this trade was between Sam and Grayson. Sam receives George Pickens, Darren Waller, and Travis Etienne, and Grayson receives Derrick Henry and Ladd McConkey. Going into the statements here, Sam said he wanted to switch things up following 4 straight losses. He had a failed draft strategy and is done waiting on Ladd McConkey. Pickens and Etienne have been great so far, and Waller is a potential trade piece with Ferguson on his roster. For Grayson, he says he wanted Derrick Henry for his juicy schedule and improved offense when Lamar returns, and he loves Ladd McConkey as a player and thinks the Chargers will pass more. He also believes George Pickens will be limited with Lamb returning, and Etienne is a movable running back for an upgraded running back, and he prays this does not mess him up this week. So going into player analysis here, I will put the players that Sam is receiving on top and the players that Grayson is receiving on the bottom. So George Pickens, currently the wide receiver 8. All these rankings will be by average. He's averaging 17.4 fantasy points a game. He's the number 1 option in a good Cowboys passing offense right now. But his negative is that his role is likely to diminish, not completely, but in volume when CeeDee Lamb returns, which looks like it will be 1 to 2 weeks. For Derrick Henry is currently the running back 26, averaging 11.4 fantasy points per game. Derrick Henry is a known workhorse running back with weekly RB1 overall ceiling. But his negative is Lamar is out right now, so the Ravens are getting played a little bit differently than they would be if Lamar Jackson was there. And just overall a worse offense. And the other drawback with Derrick Henry is they actually have a bad defense this year. The Ravens generally have had great defenses over the years, but this year they are getting scored on a lot. And as you guys know, when the Ravens are down big, they usually have their pass catching back in Justice Hill in the game. So moving on to the next set of players here, Sam receives Darren Waller, the tight end 1. Currently, he's only played 2 games, but he is the tight end 1 right now. He's averaging 17.5 fantasy points per game. A pro for him is Tua is a dump-off merchant. We saw it with Johnny Smith last year. We see it with Devon Achane in every game. Tua likes his free yards. And then the negative for Darren Waller is he's pretty old. I believe he's in his early to late early 30s, I guess. I think he's like 33. Anyways, and he has a pretty extensive injury history. And he low-key crashes out sometimes. So moving on to Ladd McConkey. Currently the wide receiver 44, averaging 9.2 fantasy points per game. And a pro for him is the Chargers are likely to have an increased passing volume with Amari and Hampton out. And they're already passing a lot right now, honestly, but probably going to be looking downfield even more without their first-round pick in Amari and Hampton. And then a negative for Ladd McConkey is, at least this year, he's been the 3rd option in the passing game. Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen have seen more sustained volume so far. All right, and the last player to look at here is Travis Etienne. Currently, they're running back 15, averaging 14.6 fantasy points per game. This is the second trade that Travis Etienne has been involved in, so it'll be interesting to see if he is able to meet the David Montgomery 4 trades in 1 season level. But Travis Etienne, same pros and cons as last time. He's a proven productive fantasy running back, but Bashal Tuden has a solid pass catching role that just limits his ceiling and also has a rough playoff schedule. So looking into the rosters here for Sam's team, I really like this move. I think you have 2 very solid running backs in Travis Etienne and DeAndre Swift. And when your players are not on bye, you have Justin Jefferson, George Pickens. And personally, I would honestly run two tight ends. I know it sounds crazy, but you have the top two tight ends in fantasy football, at least while CeeDee Lamb is out. I would be running Jake Ferguson and Darren Waller. And I think it's just a move that changes up your roster a little bit and just adds three pieces. I didn't even mention George Pickens there. You also have George Pickens that you can use while CeeDee Lamb is out. And just adds three relatively solid fantasy players to your lineup. And then for Grayson's side here, again, I'm going to evaluate this being a standalone trade for Grayson. So Grayson now gets two very solid running backs in Jahmyr Gibbs and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, more of that high ceiling player. Jahmyr Gibbs is also a high ceiling player, but has that high floor. And then for your receivers, you have three pretty underwhelming receivers so far in Drake London, Tetairoa McMillan, and Ladd McConkey. So the receivers there are probably going to need some work. But all three of those receivers have kind of underwhelmed so far. So if I were to say who wins this trade right now, I think Sam has the better side of things, but I understand it from Grayson's side. So that is all I have for this trade video. The next trade video, I believe, will be releasing at the same time. So thank you guys.